So, before ko pala i-start tong tutorial na to, kung hindi nyo pa alam yung basic steps for solving the resultant of a force system, pwede nyong i-check ang first video na ginawa ko tungkol sa resultant na ang title is Two Concurrent Forces. Ilalagay ko lang ang link sa description sa baba, and then just try to check it out. Mas detailed kasi yung mga naunang video ko kasi na-lecture ko doon ang tungkol sa mga formula and other rules for solving the resultant of a force system. So, yun lang. Now, let's start discussing the resultant of 3 or more concurrent forces. So, in solving for the resultant of 3 or more concurrent forces that are not collinear, it requires computing the sum of 3 or more vectors. For the resultant, may iba na ang formula. So, ganito na, R is equals to the square root of summation of forces X raised to 2 plus summation of the forces Y raised to 2. So, bakit summation? Kasi marami na mga forces na nakalagay doon sa mga problems, sa given problems. Kaya, i-add mo lahat ng mga forces sa Y at saka sa X para makuha mo ang resultant nito. So, gagayahin mo lang tong formula, then substitute lang. So, for Rx naman and Ry, for Rx, ang formula ng Rx ay magiging summation of forces X. And then, for Ry naman, or the reaction Y, or forces Y, summation of forces Y. In solving the angle naman, maiiba na lang ng konti, which is tangent theta is equals to summation of the forces Y all over summation of the forces X. So, i-add mo lahat ng forces Y and forces X, i-divide mo, and then use this formula, makukuha mo na ang given angle or ang hinahanap na angle. Now, let's solve some problems. So, for problem number 1, solve for the resultant and the theta of the figure below. So, ang una-una natin gagawin, based dun sa formula, kukunin muna natin ang summation forces X, pati ang summation forces Y. So, ganito ang gagawin natin. Let's solve first for summation, let's say solution. Then, summation forces X. Now, tandaan, basta may mga ganitong forces na inclined forces, ibig sabihin, meron yan siyang dalawang component, the X and Y component. Ibig sabihin, meron siyang isang forces X at meron din siyang isang forces Y. So, itong inclined na force na to, meron to siyang isang Y pati isang X. So, paganyan yan siya. Ito ang isang summation, ito ang isang forces X, forces Y and X. Fx and then Fy. So, now, pwede na natin i-solve ang summation forces X kasi na-distinguish na natin kung nasan ang forces X for each of the inclined forces. So, for summation forces X, magsa-start muna tayo sa 300 pounds. So, pounds ang gamit dito, English unit. Summation forces X, 300 cosine 45. Since nakalay ang angle sa X axis. And then, minus. So, next is for the 400 pounds. So, nilagay ko dito is negative. Why negative? Because going to the left ang force X niya. Ito o. Force X. Punta doon yung 400 and then so, force X is negative. So, 400 pounds. Later na natin ilalagay ang unit kapag sa final answer na. And then times the cosine of 60, ang angle of inclination niya. Next, minus 200 cosine 30. So, wala na. Tatlo lang man. 1, this is 1, 2, 3. So, yun na. Tatlo lang yung forces. So, tatlo lang din ang forces X. So, pwede na natin tong i-calculate. So, for summation forces X, so, let's do the calculation. So, may answer na tayong negative 161.07. So, consider lang natin ang 2 decimal places. Lalagay natin ang unit na pounds. So, don't forget to put the unit in your answer kasi mawawala lang din ang points if ever na i-check ng prof nyo. So next, let's solve for the summation forces Y. So the same lang ang process sa summation forces X. Yun nga lang, i-consider lang natin ang lahat ng mga forces Y, yung mga itong forces Y, and then itong pababa isa. Let's start na naman sa 300 pounds. Sulat na natin 300. So since 4 forces Y na to, so sin 45 degrees plus. Bakit plus? Kasi pataas lang man silang dalawa. So upper part, going to the upper portion of the y-axis, so positive. So 400 sin 60. And then for the 200 pounds, iba na siya, magiging negative na since facing downward ang force Y. So negative 200 sin 30. So pwede natin i-calculate ang forces Y. Now, may answer na tayong 458.54 pounds. So, ngayon, tapos na natin isolve ang forces Y and then forces X. So, ang solve na naman natin ngayon, since meron na tayong dalawang value nito, meron na tayong ito, pwede natin isolve ang resultant. For resultant, gagamitin natin yung formula na given kanina. So, yung R, the square root of summation forces X raised to 2 plus the summation forces Y raised to 2. Now, R is equals to the square root of. Substitute lang natin yung mga nakuha nating answer dito kanina. So, for summation forces X, sasama natin pati ang sign. Yung negative sign. So, negative 161.07. Later na natin ilalagay ang unit pag final answer na. Plus, the summation forces Y, which is 458.54 raised to 2. R will be equals to, so, we arrive at 486.01 na answer, pounds. Don't forget the unit. So, meron na tayong resultant. Meron na tayong summation forces X, check. For summation forces Y, check. And then R, the resultant. Okay na. So, ang lesson naman na hiningi dito sa problem is ang theta or ang angle ng resultant. Now, let's find for the angle. Ang formula kanina is that for getting the angle is tan theta is equals to summation forces Y divided by the summation forces X. So, isa-substitute lang natin ang mga nakuha nating mga values. So, tan theta is equals to the summation forces Y, which is 458.54 divided by summation forces X, which is the negative 161.07. Calculate natin. So, nakuha natin ang answer na negative 109.35 degrees. So, ibig sabihin, ang angle of inclination ng resultant ay nasa negative 109.35 degrees. So, kung pagbabasehan natin dito sa figure, nasa left part siya. So, kung ima-minus natin, pag mag-start tayo dito from here to here, magiging 109.35. Pero kung minus natin to sa 180, negative 109.35 plus 180, so the same lang yan siya, minus pa rin naman yan siya. So 180, ang magiging answer nito is 70.64. So ang resultant ay nasa 70.64 to the left. Ibig sabihin, along here, dito part, ang resultant, ganyan. Tapos ang angle dito is 70.64 degrees. So, ayan, meron na tayong answer for theta. Meron din na tayong mga summation forces X. So, okay na. So, next problem naman tayo. Para sa problem na to, maiiba naman siya ng konti yung way ng pag-solve. Kasi meron siyang slope ang isang inclined force. meron siyang slope 1:2. So, bago natin isosolve ang summation forces x, hanapin muna natin itong hypotenuse ng slope natin, which is ito. So, let's redraw this one, this slope. So, ganito yan siya, ang itsura ng slope. And then 2, this is 1. Gagamitin natin yung sinabi kong Pythagorean theorem dun sa aking naunang video. C squared is equals to A squared plus B squared. So, pag isi-simplify lang natin, magiging ganito na lang yan. Didiretso na lang natin, then substitute. The A is 1 raised to 2, and then plus B raised to 2. So, which is equals to the square root of 5. So, yan na ang ating hypotenuse. Importanteng mahanap natin yan kasi kailangan natin yan pag naghahanap na tayo ng summation forces x and y. Now, let's proceed for the solution in finding the summation forces y and x. So, solution. For summation forces x muna tayo. So, for summation forces x, magsisimula na muna tayo dito sa right part ng quadrant, ng first quadrant. So, 100 pounds ay ang imumultiply natin sa 100 ay ang x-axis slope divided by the hypotenuse. So, ang x-axis slope nito is itong 2. So, itong x-axis and then ito ang y-axis. So, ang 2 divided by the hypotenuse which is the square root of 5. Yan yung purpose nung the square root of 5 sa solution natin. The next is the 300. 300 is negative. Bakit? Kasi ang x component nito ay papunta doon. So, going to the left is negative. So, 300 cosine, since angle to, cosine ang gagamitin natin. And then, nakalaysa sa x-axis. So, cosine 60. Minus naman for 200 kasi going to the left pa rin naman ang x component nito. And then, going down ang y component. So, 200 pounds is times cosine 45 degrees. And then plus, y plus kasi ang x component ng 400 is going to the right, which is the positive side. So, 400 cosine, since it's an angle, cosine 30 degrees. So, pwede na nating i-calculate tong summation forces x natin. Ang answer is 144.43 pounds. So, gagamit lang tayo ng 2 decimal places. So, arrive tayo sa answer ng 144.43 pounds for summation forces x. And next is the summation forces y. So, same pa rin sa naunang problem. And then, 100. Positive siya since ang y component nito is going up, and then yung x component. So, 100 times the y-axis slope divided by the hypotenuse. So, ang y-axis natin is yung 1 divided by the square root of 5. And then, next is the 300. Positive ang 300y kasi ang 300 ay, ang component na y nito is going up. So, positive. So, 300 sine 60. And then, for 200 naman, minus siya kasi going down ang y component. So, 200 sine 45. Ang 400 naman na pounds, ang y component nito is same lang sa 200 pounds. Going down din siya, so negative pa rin. 400 pounds sine 30 degrees. So, let's calculate the answer for summation forces y. Now, ang answer ngayon is negative 36.89 pounds. So, negative siya. May answer na tayo for summation forces x and y. Ang next naman na gagawin natin is solve natin ang resultant. Now, for the resultant, diretso na lang tayo ng r is equals to the square root of the summation forces x, which is 144.43 raised to 2, plus summation forces y, which is the negative 0.89 raised to 2. So, makukuha natin ng r na value pag i-calculate natin, which is So, meron na tayong answer na 149.07 pounds. So, yan na ang ating resultant. Yan din ang hinahanap sa ating problem. Pero for other solution naman, which is the theta, isosolve na lang din natin. Para may another example tayo for theta. So, the theta is tan. Theta is equals to summation forces y divided by summation forces x. Kung simplify lang natin, meron na tayong tan theta. Substitute na lang din. Summation forces y will be negative 36.89 divided by the summation forces x, which is 144.43. Therefore, theta is equals to na meron tayo for theta will be 165.67 degrees. Ma-minus natin yan sa 180. So, 180 will be minus by 165.67. Ang answer nito ay equals to 14.33 degrees. Ang resultant ay nasa right, down to the right. So, nasa baba. Since mas malaki ang force sa baba, which is the 400, malamang nandito ang resultant. So, down to the right. Now, for the next problem, iba naman to siya kasi puro slope lahat. Unlike the first problem, which is puro angle naman lahat. And then dito, before mo makukuha yung summation forces x and y, isosolve mo muna yung mga hypotenuse ng mga slope. So, let's start with the 300 pounds. Lagay na lang natin, this will be C1 or the hypotenuse 1. This will be the C2. Then this will be the C3. Then let's solve for C1. It's equals to the square root of 4 raised to 2 plus 3 raised to 2, which is equals to 5 for C2. The square root of 1 raised to 2 plus 2 raised to 2, which is equals to the square root of 5. Now, for C3, will be the square root of 5 raised to 2 plus 12 raised to 2, which is also equals to 13. So, yan na yung mga hypotenuse for each slopes. So, pwede natin kukunin ang summation forces x. So, for the summation forces x, let's start din. Same pa rin ang arrangement, 300, 224, and then 390. So, for 300 pounds, times the x slope, which is 4, all over the hypotenuse, which is 5. Positive siya kasi nasa right, going to the right ang kanyang component, ang x component. Now, for the 224, magiging negative siya, y, kasi ang x component niya is going to the left, and then ang y component naman is going down. So, for 224, we have times the numerator, which is the x slope 1 over the square root of 5, yung kanyang hypotenuse. And then, for 390 naman, nilalagay na lang natin sa baba. 390, magiging positive siya kasi going to the right ang kanyang x component, going down naman ang kanyang y component. So, for 390, times lang natin sa kanyang x slope, which is 5, divided by the hypotenuse niya, which is 13. So, pwede natin i-calculate ang fx. Okay. So, ang answer natin is 289.82 pounds. Now, for fy, or the summation forces y, same pa rin, mag-start pa rin tayo sa 300. So, 300 times, ang y slope naman nito ay 3 over 5, which is ang kanyang hypotenuse, ito. Positive siya kasi going up ang y component ng 300. Now, for 224 naman, ang y component niya is going down, kaya minus or negative. So, 224 times ang y component nito na slope, which is 2, and then over the square root of 5, yung answer kanina. And then, for 390 naman, gawin natin dito plus Minus 390 kasi going down, same sa 224, going down ang y component times 12, ang kanyang y-axis slope divided by 13. Ito. So, for summation forces y, we have ang answer natin ay negative 380.35 pounds. So, meron na tayong y and summation forces x and summation y na answer. Pwede na natin hanapin or resolve ang resultant. R is equals to the square root of 289.82 raised to 2 plus negative 380.35 raised to 2. So, if i-calculate natin, R will be equals to 478.19 pounds. So, we have the value of R now, or the resultant na hinahanap natin sa problem. So, R is 478.19. So, solve na lang din natin inclination ng resultant. So, let's solve using the tangent formula. Tan theta equals to summation forces y divided by summation forces x. Let's say tan theta is equals to negative 380 divided by 380.35. That's divided by summation forces x, which is 289.82. Theta will be 127.31 degrees. Or, kapag ima-minus natin ito sa 180, magiging 52.69 degrees. So, ito, meaning nito, along the x-axis, ang angle of inclination ng resultant is 52.69 degrees down to the right. Since ang answer natin ay positive, so nasa right ang resultant natin, which is this part, and down to the right here, sa baba. So, the resultant can be found here, 52 degrees 69. Okay. So, for our last problem, so medyo challenging siya. Babasahin ko muna yung given problem. So, the resultant of the concurrent forces shown in figure 4, which is this one, is 300 pounds pointing up along the y-axis. So, compute the values of f and theta required to give this resultant. So, hanapin natin, ang unknown natin ay this f pati itong theta, the angle. According sa problem, meron na tayong resultant. Meron na tayong R, which is the 300 pounds. So, given na ang R, hanapin na lang natin tong F and the theta. Now, let's start from summation forces X. Okay. Since unknown ang isang force sa ating diagram, gagamitin natin yung isang static force sa mechanics, which is the summation forces X is equals to 0. Let summation forces X is equals to 0. Para makagawa tayo ng equation. So, magsa-start muna tayo sa F. So, summation forces is equals to 0, which is summation of F cosine theta, and then next will be the negative 500 cosine 0 kasi, so yun nga, 0 siya kasi walang angle, and then the next will be the 240, so ang x niya is positive. So, positive 240 cosine 30 degrees, the given angle, is equals to 0 kasi nga, ang equation natin is summation forces X equals to 0. So, isi-simplify lang natin to, magiging F cosine theta equals to, transpose na lang natin itong pwede nating masolve, which is the negative 500 cosine 0 plus 240 cosine 30. So, kung i-calculate natin yan, lalabas na ang answer ay 292.15. Pwede pa natin to ma-simplify pa para magiging f na lang ang may value ngayon ng f. So, for f divided by cosine theta divided by cosine theta, therefore, ang f natin ngayon ay 292.15 divided by cosine theta. So, meron na tayong equation 1, which is this one. F is equals to 292.15 over cosine theta. Okay, since tapos na tayo for summation forces x, gagawin naman natin ang summation forces y. So, summation forces y, mag-start din tayo sa f ulit. F, sine naman ngayon, sine theta. Unknown naman yung theta. And then this one, wala siyang component kasi isa lang siyang horizontal force. So, diretso na siya for x. Wala siyang y component or y na anything na y force. So, this one will be going down. So, for 240 minus 240 kasi going down siya for y-axis times sine 30. Pag isi-simplify lang natin to, magiging summation forces y f sine theta minus 120 kapag i-calculate natin tong 240 sine 30. Na ito na ngayon ang tinatawag nating equation 2. So, meron na tayong equation 1, equation 2. Since may equation na tayo for f, which is f is equals to 292.15 divided by cosine theta, and then may f din dito for summation forces y, so pwede na nating i-substitute ang value na ito dito sa equation 2. So, ang gagawin natin next ay substitute equation 1 to equation 2. So, ang mangyayari, magiging summation forces y, ito ang equation 2, is equals to, so since ang f dito ay may value dito sa equation 1, gagamitin natin yung value ng equation 1, which is 292.15 all over cosine theta. And then, since sine ang next, isusulat lang natin sine theta, let's just copy, minus 120. So, pag isi-simplify natin, i-calculate natin to, ang lalabas ay summation forces y is equals to 292.15 tangent theta minus 120. Bakit tangent? Kasi sine over cosine will be a tangent sa trigonometric identities. Okay, based from our last solution, meron na tayong summation forces y 292.15 tangent theta minus 120, and then ginamit natin ang isang static equation na summation forces x is equals to 0. Pwede na natin kunin ang value ng theta kasi gamit ang formula ng resultant. Dahil ang resultant natin ay given na meron na tayong value ng resultant which is 300 pounds. So, gagamitin lang natin ang formula ng resultant. R is equals to the square root of summation forces x squared plus summation forces y squared. Para mas simple ang ating equation, ito na lang ang ating gagamitin, which is R raised to 2 is equals to summation forces x raised to 2 plus summation forces y raised to 2. The same lang yan sila sa itong first equation. Ito. The same lang yan. Mas simple lang yung ganito at saka mas madali nating masolve. So, based dito sa formula na to, gagamitin natin ang 300 which is equals to the resultant. Let's substitute the R. Then, for summation forces x raised to 2, since 0 na lang, lalagyan na lang natin raised to 2 plus summation forces y, which is the 292.15 tangent theta minus 120 raised to 2. Okay, kung mapapansin nyo, itong isang term na to is a binomial. So, susundin natin ang rule ng pagmultiply ng binomial. Now, ilalagay na lang natin dito. or here. So, for 300 raised to 2, sulat ko na lang, diretso ko na isusulat ang answer. Now, ita-transpose natin ang 90,000 sa kabilang side, and then gagawin natin tong equation which is equals to 0. So, magiging ganito na lang siya. So, ayan, meron na tayong isang buong equation. Ang gagawin na lang natin, hanap tayo ng paraan para ma-solve ang value ng angle. So, based dito sa na-observe nyong equation, maaari natin gamitin ang quadratic formula or ang quadratic equation. Okay, gagamitin natin ang na-solve nating equation, ang na-derive natin from our previous solution. Gagamitin natin ang formula ng quadratic equation. Ang formula ng quadratic equation ay negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Now, based sa ating na-derive na equation, which is this one, isa-substitute lang natin ang mga value dito sa formula. So, ito ang a, ito ang b, and then ito ang c. Isa-substitute lang natin itong mga value dito sa na-derive nating equation sa ating quadratic formula. So, for b, so, bakit tan theta 1 ang nilagay ko? Kasi, inuna ko muna yung positive sign for quadratic equation. Diba? Dalawa ang sign for quadratic equation, which is negative and positive. So, positive muna yung ginamit ko. So, ang answer nito, if i-calculate natin, which is tan theta 1 is equals to 1.44. And then, kung negative naman ang gagamitin natin dito, to replace the positive sign or the plus sign, magiging tan theta 2 is equals to negative 0.616. So, ito ngayon ang hinahanap nating tan theta. Yung answer natin kanina, hindi pa yun ang final answer for the angle. So, itong tan theta 1 and tan theta 2 na sagot ay i-calculate pa natin to. And then lalabas, kapag i-calculate mo to, i-input mo sa calculator itong tan theta or tan x pag sa calcu is equals to 1.44, lalabas na ang theta 1 will be 235.22 degrees. And for theta 2 naman, or tan theta 2 will be 148.37 degrees. Now, i-minus pa natin yan sa 180 para makuha talaga natin ang final answer for theta 1 and theta 2. So, for theta 1, kapag i-minus natin ang 235.22 sa 180, ang lalabas ay 55.22 degrees. And for theta 2, ang answer naman ay magiging negative 31.63. Ma-minus natin ang 148.37 sa 180. So, based dito sa dalawang answer, pipiliin natin kung ano ba talaga ang tama na theta na gamitin. So pag makikita nyo ang diagram, wala namang y force dito. Nandito lahat sa right side. So, meaning, nasa positive side siya. So, ibig sabihin, ang tamang sagot na pipiliin dapat natin ay ang 55.22 degrees na angle. So, yun ang gagamitin natin para makuha natin ang another unknown which is the F. Itong F. Hinahanap din natin yan siya. So, gagamitin natin itong theta 1 to solve for F. Kung matatandaan nyo, meron tayong first equation which is the F is equals to 292.15 divided by cosine theta. Ito yung equation 1 kanina. Equation 1. Now, kapag isa-substitute natin ang value ng theta na na-solve natin kanina sa equation ngayon, magiging 292.15 divided by cosine 55.22 degrees. So, yan na ngayon ang cosine na gagamitin natin. So, F will be equals to, kapag i-calculate natin tong equation na to, makakuha natin ang answer na 512.16 pounds. Since, huwag kalimutan na pounds ang given sa diagram, so pounds din ang final answer natin for F, which is the force, inclined force na to. So, ito yung answer natin na 512.16 to the right. So, that's it for today's tutorial. Thank you for watching.